October 26th will, of course, be UFC 308. Topuria versus Holloway. Now, of course, besides the main event, which is an amazing fight, there is also quite a bit of good fights on the undercard. Of course, you have Jeff Neal taking on Rafael dos Anjos. Maybe not the best, but you also have Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. Of course, you have Leon Murphy and Dan Ige and Robert Whitaker versus Hamzat Chimaev. We will not be talking about the Ige or Neal fight, but we will be talking about the Ankalaev Rakic fight. Now, of course, Alexander the Rocket Rakic is 14-4, 9 wins by way of knockout, 1 submission win, and 4 wins by way of decision. 2 losses by way of knockout, 1 by submission and 1 by decision. Unfortunately for him, he is coming off of back-to-back losses. Not any losses, but the 2 stoppage losses. Of course, one of them being Jan Blachowicz via knee injury, and Jiri Prochazka at UFC 300 via punches in the second round. Very unfortunate for Rakic. But besides that, he's also lost a split decision to Volkan Ozdemir, who of course he himself has been doing well, knocking out Johnny Walker. His last loss will of course be his debut back in 2011. But of course he has beaten some, you could say, decent people like Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos. Very nice. But unfortunately for him, he is taking on the former title challenger, the essential boogeyman of the light heavyweight division, Magomed Ankalaev. 18-1, 10 wins by way of knockout, 0 submission wins, which we'll talk about later, and 8 decisions, 1 no contest and 1 draw. 1 loss, that coming by submission at the hands of Paul Craig back in 2018. Nothing to be ashamed of. Paul Craig also stopped Jamal Hill, handing him one of his 2 losses. So not that bad, you know. But besides that, his last fight was a knockout victory over Johnny Walker. Of course, the no contest was the illegal knee that happened. And the draw came by Jan Blachowicz when they faced for the vacant light heavyweight title. Now, of course, there's a lot of stuff going around, and they're wishing that Rakic wins, which, first of all, I guess it makes sense. It's because they don't like how Ankalaev is speaking about the current champion, Pereira. He's saying that he's not going to go to the ground and he's going to strike with him, which, of course, the past few people who've said that didn't really end too well for them. But it's for the fact that many people believe that Ankalaev will be the one to beat Alex Pereira, as they assume he is a great wrestler. Unfortunately for him, he has 0 submission wins. Doesn't really matter, he can still take him down, but for the most part, a lot of it's going to be standing. And Ankalaev is a great striker with power, beating people like Smith, Walker, Ozdemir, who of course Rakic lost to split decision, so it doesn't really matter. And Thiago Santos, of course, who Rakic also beat, Nikita Krylov, and a bunch of other ones, right? Unfortunately for Rakic, I like him. He seems like a nice dude. He has great striking. Of course, he was piecing up Jiri Prochazka in their fight until Rakic gassed out and Prochazka broke him down and got the stoppage win. But unfortunately for him, Ankalaev is explosive. Really explosive. He could knock him out relatively quickly. Now, I don't think it will end in the first round or even the second round, but I do believe it unfortunately might end the same way as the Prochazka fight. Rakic will begin landing some very nice, very unique shots on Ankalaev just for him to essentially be broken down and stopped in the third round. Of course, Ankalaev, if worse comes to worse, he could just take Rakic down and recover there. But for the most part, I think Ankalaev's going to knock him out third round, somewhere around there. I just think he has the better conditioning than Rakic and has more power. But you never know. He was landing some very strong shots on Prochazka. So if Ankalaev does not have a good chin, which is, I guess you could say might have, still needs to be tested. But for the most part, Ankalaev will be tested in this fight. Rakic has more than enough to cause a ton of problems for Ankalaev. Now, of course, after this fight, they need a fight. Pereira versus Ankalaev need a fight. Or Rakic, depending on who wins. Oh, especially, oh man, if Rakic wins, they're going to book the fight instantly. But Ankalaev and Pereira need a fight. There's no other people. There's no, but he doesn't deserve it, whatever. He's the next highest guy in the rankings. Who's he going to fight? Prochazka for a third time? But whatever, right? Ankalaev, third round stoppage over Alexander Rakic. I don't think it's too much of a real, head scratcher. But one that will be is Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Of course, Khamzat bores Chimaev 13-0, 6 wins by way of knockout, 5 submissions, and only went decision 2 times. Of course, being undefeated. He is coming off of one of the decision wins against the former welterweight world champion Kamaru Usman. Now, of course, that was a very short notice fight where Usman had to essentially fight at middleweight when he's used to fighting at welterweight. His one other decision was against Gilbert Burns in their, I guess you could say, barn burner. And other than that, people believed that he was going to be the man to become, for some reason, a 3-division world champion. For some reason, I don't know. Of course, he was essentially winning, or essentially next in line for a title fight at welterweight. But of course, his weight has played a factor as he is unable to make welterweight and has now been forced to fight at middleweight. Of course, Robert Whittaker is high ranking. I think he's ranked number 3. So if Chimaev wins, he's essentially, besides Strickland, is next for a title shot. But besides that, Chimaev has his work cut out for him as he will be taking on the Reaper, Robert Whittaker, the former middleweight world champion. No slouch. Now, of course, Bobby Knuckles, or the Reaper, is 26-7, 10 wins by way of knockout, 5 submission wins, and 11 decisions. Out of his 7 losses, 3 by knockout, 1 by submission, and 3 by decision. Now, of course, a very well-rounded opponent in his wins and in his losses. But for the most part, he was considered arguably the Max Holloway of the middleweight division. Basically beating up every contender, but could never really truly beat the champion at the time, Israel Adesanya. Up until, well, he lost to Dricus du Plessis. Yeah, because the last time he lost to anyone other than Adesanya was back in 2014 at welterweight against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Yeah, quite a bit of time. But of course, this will be a very interesting fight. Although he is coming off of back-to-back wins, the opposition is less than stellar, as it was Paulo Costa, which, don't get me wrong, I guess people have figured out he is over the hill, no longer in his prime. And Ikram Aliskerov, a late-minute replacement when Khamzat Chimaev pulled out, which he's, I guess, known to do nowadays, right? And unfortunately for Aliskerov, he was just maybe slightly out of his league. Young fighter fighting the former champion, probably not the best fight, but you gotta salute the man for taking the fight in the first place. But besides that, many people are very torn on this, although it is slightly favoring Chimaev in the people's opinions. I do believe Chimaev is just a monster, right? He is, I think, slightly taller than Whittaker, and he's just abnormally strong. And he will submit Bobby in the first round. And other people believe that Robert Whittaker will survive the first round and maybe even the second round, and of course, and stop Chimaev in the third round or even the second round. But the main problem with Chimaev is his cardio. Of course, he is very explosive, very strong, but that takes quite a bit of energy. But then again, that was in welterweight. Middleweight, he did fight Kamaru Usman, which he also did kind of tire out, and many people believe Usman should have got it, or at least it should have been a draw. But at the end of the day, Chimaev will unfortunately probably beat Robert Whittaker. I think, because look, Robert Whittaker, people are saying he's going to survive because he's faced against high-level grapplers before, like Yoel Romero, even though he kind of turned into a striker later on in his career. But the difference is they like to say he was able to take out Usman or drop Usman or take him down, right? But it's different with Robert Whittaker because Usman's an offensive wrestler while Whittaker's a defensive wrestler. But Usman was only dropped once or taken down once, and that was in the Leon Edwards fight. So fair to assume he's also a great defensive wrestler. But Whittaker has experience with these wrestlers, and he is the I would assume, naturally bigger guy. So it will take a lot more energy from Chimaev. It could go horribly wrong for Chimaev because unlike other people like Merab and Umar Nurmagomedov, or even last week's Fluffy Hernandez, Chimaev gasses out. So as long as he survives that, he could piece him up. Especially especially Robert Whittaker. He can 100% piece him up. But my final prediction is, you know what? Screw it. We're going to go with Robert Whittaker. Chimaev, I do believe, will scare a lot of people who put money on Robert Whittaker by almost submitting him in the first round. But I do believe after that, his essential threat isn't completely gone. He gets the 100% win decision. But then it'll be Robert Whittaker who's going to be the one that's going to be dominating. But with that being said, I got Robert Whittaker by decision. Is this a 5-round fight? Because this is a five-round fight. Yeah, no, Whittaker's definitely winning. But if it's a 3-round fight, ooh, it could go either way. You never know. I feel like if it is a 3-round fight, I need to actually check that real quick. But if it's a 3-round fight, no, the second round is going to be very important because we'll have to see if Chimaev still has energy in the tank to win a round. But like I said, it's very, very interesting. But besides that, I got Robert Whittaker by decision. 100% could go the other way. You know, this is I kind of say a coin flip. If Chimaev gets his cardio up, hey, that's a different story, right? But at the end of the day, the main event, arguably one of the highest level of competition since, I would assume, Volkanovski, Makhachev, right? But besides that, this is a highly anticipated fight between Ilia Topuria, the featherweight world champion, and Max Holloway, the former featherweight world champion. Now, of course, the former champion, Max Blessed Holloway, is 26-7, 12 wins by way of knockout, 2 submissions, and 12 decisions. 7 losses, only 1 by submission, the rest by decision. Of course, he is known for his granite chin, as he displayed against a bunch of people. But besides that, he is coming off of one of the best wins of his career recently, anyways, against Justin Gaethje back at UFC 300, as many people believe that was one of the best knockouts in recent memory. Now, of course, he did knock out Gaethje, who was like ranked, I think, 3 at the time at lightweight, and then for some reason, when the rankings come out, Holloway came out at like 9. That makes no sense. But besides that, he has shown that he is a great striker, right? That's never been questioned. And not to mention, he's only lost to like the best, right? Recently, he's only lost to Alexander Volkanovski and Dustin Poirier when Poirier moved up in weight by eating cheeseburgers or whatever. But besides that, the champion, arguably, as they say, one of the most technical strikers out right now, and he is undefeated. That's right. He's one of the, actually, I think he is the only undefeated champion right now. Everyone else has lost before. Now, of course, El Matador Ilia Topuria is 15-0, 5 wins by way of knockout, 8 submissions, and has only gone decision twice. One of them being one of his recent fights between Josh Emmett. He went 5 rounds with him. The last time before that was back in 2020 against Youssef Zalal. 3-round decision when everyone else could not hang in there, even the former champion Alexander Volkanovski. Now, of course, a lot of people like to question that win as, they say Volkanovski was over the hill. And coming off of a bad knockout loss to Islam Makhachev, which that itself probably was a fight he should not have taken, But, hey, hindsight's 20/20. But besides that, this is also one that people used to be torn about but are slightly now favoring Topuria. Because Holloway is, although not that old, I do believe he's like 32, but he has been through a lot of fights and has taken quite a bit of damage. Now, of course, the main reason why people are backing Holloway is because of the Justin Gaethje fight. Oh, he took Gaethje's power. Topuria is not going to be any issue, right? But the thing is, no offense to Gaethje, but this man nearly loses every fight he's won. I mean, he gets hurt all the time, and his defense is poor, and his offense is also poor. I mean, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, he's ranked number 3 for a reason, but, I'm just saying Topuria probably would have done Gaethje worse. Weirdly enough. But besides that, it's just because people just don't want to see Holloway lose. He seems like a nice guy. People don't like him. And also because people hate Topuria. One of the main reasons was because he was talking a lot of smack to Volkanovski. He was taking his belt. He was doing all this other stuff. But the thing is it wasn't the trash talking. It was the fact that he backed it up. He knocked out Volkanovski. No one likes that. He knocked out a fan favorite while talking smack. No one likes that. So now he's essentially the villain of the story. So that's good. But enough dilly-dallying. It's going to be Topuria. I'm going to say it right now, he's going to stop Holloway. I think a lot of people are kind of starting to get that, but he's going to stop Holloway. Because look, he's not like they say, his background isn't even striking. It's was it Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Look at it, he has more submission wins than he does knockout wins. And the thing is, Holloway is a good defensive wrestler. He has beaten people like Brian Ortega. But Topuria is a better boxer than Ortega, and I would assume not that far off in terms of submission threats anyways. Because Ortega was seen as one of the best guys in BJJ anyways. But Topuria, I believe, is not that far off, or at least he's still an elite grappler. And that's the thing. Even if Max Holloway somehow manages to outbox Topuria, which I do believe he's not, he struggled against small guys like Volkanovski. He can't fight like close range, or at least not that great anyways. He did knock out Gaethje, but Gaethje was already pummeled for like 5 rounds. I mean, he was exhausted. He had a broken nose. He got poked in the eye twice. You know, his defense was just gone, right? But Topuria is going to outbox Holloway, and even if the slight chance that Holloway starts landing his big shots against Topuria, which is possible, people like to say that he does, he is defensive, but not too defensive, right? He has some holes in the game, right? He could just take him down, and he could submit him there too. Holloway, unfortunately, his best chance of winning is to outbox Topuria, and that's not going to happen. Topuria's best chance of winning is either submitting him or just beating him, right? He has 2 ways of winning, while Holloway, unfortunately, probably only has 1. A little sad to say, but yeah, Holloway's going to get stopped. I do believe in the 3rd or 4th round, somewhere around there. He's either going to get knocked out cold, or he's going to get submitted. But hey, Holloway has beaten Gaethje, ranked number 3 at lightweight, so even if he does lose, it doesn't matter. He got a nice little second run at lightweight. Why not? He's good at lightweight. He seems well adjusted. No shame in losing to Topuria. Would I rate Holloway's chances of winning? Not that high. Not that high. Holloway, don't get me wrong, has power, but the thing is, his last knockout feather was against the Korean Zombie, where the Korean Zombie ran in with no defense. I think chin up in the air, and then Max Holloway just threw a full power shot. Like, that's not going to happen against Topuria, to my knowledge anyways. But yeah, besides that, nothing much to it. Topuria's going to stop Holloway, and after that, there's really no one else left that could beat him. I mean, Diego Lopez, I guess, but no, Diego Lopez isn't going to win. He's great, though. He has massive power, but probably isn't going to be landing the big shots anyways. I mean, you never know. An Aljamain Sterling Ilie Topuria fight, I would love to see that. But besides that, that is the end of the video. You guys have different people you choose. Are you choosing different people to win? I would like to know. Leave them in the comments below. But anyways, hope you enjoy this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.